to 101.7 KDNO's WyoToday Sports Live. Called Baylor and Cody talking.
Talking sports.
And it is a beautiful week here in Riverton and a lot going on as all the teams kind of start to return from spring break. Track season kind of getting underway. It's going to get underway in full force the next week or so. They have had a meet, but it was only upperclassmen that went down to Natrona. And of course, soccer back. And the worry going in, guys, to spring break is always for a lot of the teams, not all of them, because some of them play on spring break, is rust. Riverton, of course, hosting probably their biggest game of the year outside of maybe Kelly Walsh. They were facing what would have been one or both number ones, but of course, Jackson of Lady Bronx fell to Kelly Walsh. So Kelly Walsh jumped from 2 to 1. Jackson fell to number 3. Riverton jumped up to number 2 on the lady side. Boys side, it was unranked Riverton at 2-1, looking to improve off last year's state tournament appearance versus number 1 Jackson. And you could look at this one of two ways. For the girls, it was kind of a game to try and prove that they belonged in that discussion with Kelly Walsh and Jackson because they've been elite for the past couple of years. For the boys, it was how much have they improved. Now, then you throw in the fact that this is the first game that Riverton played in 2 weeks. They'd played not the past Thursday, but the Thursday before that. Jackson had played on had played on last Thursday, and they played on Tuesday. So they were in good form. Any rust worked off, and it kind of showed. Don't know if that was the total difference or not. I kind of doubt it. But Jackson, the number 3 Jackson Lady Bronx defeat the number 2 Riverton Lady Wolverines 3-0. First clean sheet I can remember in quite some time against Riverton. Even in losses, they've always been able to find a score. But quite frankly, credit where credit is due. The Lady Bronx were able to do were basically able to outdo Riverton. Being Riverton. Riverton very physical and with a good amount of speed. Jackson has more speed across more positions, and they were able to match the physicality. Usually where a Celia Mejorado, a Carson Vosica, definitely a Timber Mathil can dribble through 2 people, split them, things of that nature. Jackson, skill-wise, wasn't going to let that happen, and physicality-wise wasn't going to let that happen. There was one bright note, though, and that is even in a 3-0 loss, Braden Mossbrucker, the senior goalkeeper, of course, first-year starter after Ayana Mejorado graduated after being a 4-year starter, really got fully tested the first time. Rock Springs was able to put 4 goals in against her in the first game, but that was more first-game jitters, I think. First time ever starting, first time ever really playing for this varsity team. She saw 10-plus shots on goal. Made a lot of great saves, had one that just went through her arm. She had it, one real mistake in the game. And it led to, Jackson proving why them and Kelly Walsh are the ones to beat. Riverton will get another shot. Lady Wolverines will play Jackson at Jackson, which will be tougher. And they've got 2 games with Kelly Walsh coming up. One of those is this coming Thursday, so that they could save a little money and didn't have to get hotels and whatnot. There's 3 games next week, or this coming week, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, in addition to playing again on Saturday at home. And it will be at Kelly Walsh. So if you got a schedule and you're like, oh, Kelly Walsh is coming here. No, they reversed that. So it's Kelly Walsh on the road on Thursday, Natrona County at home on Friday. And then later on in the season where you see it's at Kelly Walsh, just flip it. It's Kelly Walsh at home, so that they wouldn't have to get the hotel and spend the money and whatnot. So on the boys' side, it kind of played out. Jackson fell behind for possibly the first time this season. Depends on what they did with Kelly Walsh. They came in with 4 wins, 1 tie. That tie being Kelly Walsh. They had clean sheeted everybody else, and I mean, guys, it was 10-0, 5-0, 5-0. It was just absolute whippings. They beat Rock Springs 10-0. Riverton able to strike first as Kinsler was able to draw a penalty. Of course, unlike basketball, when you get the glory of going to the free throw line, anybody on the field can. And when you have Hunter Saltzgaber out there, he goes up, nails it. I don't know why he took the shot the first time, because the ref was over yelling at a kid from Jackson because he'd gotten a red card for saying some things afterwards because it was well delayed after the penalty. Then took it again, made it. Jackson wound up tying it about 20 minutes later. Then really Riverton made the cardinal sin. You say in basketball, don't let a run happen the final 2 minutes and a half. Don't let a goal score in hockey or soccer. They unmarked a guy, Jackson full of cannons for legs, and 35 yards out. He found himself alone and just buried it. Nothing Landon Hughes could do. Made it 2-1, and then credit the Jackson coaching staff. They realized that Riverton was kind of pulling U.S. hockey versus Russia in '80, as far as everybody tries to defend them. Don't defend them, attack them. And Riverton kept attacking. Well, Jackson's coaching staff, Coach Matt Hoschler, made the adjustments, and they scored 4 unanswered. Riverton unable to get anything going with the aggression, and ended up at 6-1. So, it's one of those, to quote Ric Flair, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And Jackson and Kelly Walsh, at both girls and boys, are the men.
Well, certainly. They clearly are the best programs in the state. Tough test, coming up against Kelly Walsh.
And don't forget Sheridan. Sheridan on the east, right there with them, especially on the boys' side.
Yeah. But, you kind of said it earlier, early in the season, they just took 2 weeks off for spring break. I mean, that's going to impart some kind of rust,
Yeah.
Especially not practicing every day. So it's still a long season, state's the end of May, I believe, mid-May maybe. So plenty of time. I guess regionals is first, but obviously you got to make it to state. But, plenty of time to get those corrections made if you're Riverton. And you'll have another chance against these tough teams, which is kind of nice.
I'm not sure anybody who is involved with the soccer teams, except maybe assistant principal Reggie Miller, even remembers the 1980 U.S. run at Hockey Gold, Kevin. But
they made a Disney movie about it.
let me tell you that these early season games are just that. I mean, yeah, they count. Yeah, they get in players' heads a little bit. But Riverton knows what they need to improve upon now that they've seen Jackson, and that's a good thing. Spring break is what spring break is. Jackson had their spring break too,
but they played games on it.
Well, that's fine. That's fine.
Just FYI, we are playing games next year as well.
That's good. That's good. But it's still early in the season. I mean, we're in April. We're not at the state tournament time. No reason to get too worried about it. But it was intense out there, and I give credit to all the players who played, and yeah, you got to see the best, and that's what it's about. You've got to see the best to be the best, and then you got to improve because you get another shot at them. So. No harm, no foul. I mean, it was a beautiful day for soccer. And, Riverton's, they're just going to have to pull up their cleats and get busy.
Yeah, one of the things that's always difficult, and it's a transition from basketball for a lot of the girls, is that you don't get those kind of preseason moments to play some teams from out east or whatnot. You basically, and you jump into, we've had pretty much nothing but 4A West games. Rock Springs, Green River on the other side of the quad. But, Jackson and Evanston, who they face, and they'll have another conference game. It's just basically conference games. Lander, the boys, according to what I'm looking at now, 3-1, girls 4-0. Both of those put in at number 3 in the state. Lander Valley looking very good, especially blue on the girls' side. Absolutely, on Tuesday, went over to Douglas, absolutely demolished them. I think it was 6-0 and 8-1. for the girls and boys respectively. So they have looked dominant. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And I told Max Mills we'd help sell it, so to speak, because he didn't want parents mad at him. There is going to be soccer over. I'm sure the coaches are happy. There will be a game over spring breaks next year. They were unable to avoid it. So that will help with some of the rust. Again, the good part, like we're kind of talking off air, 0-4, 0-4 coming in Star Valley. So on paper, and this is nothing against the Lady Braves and the Braves, but on paper, this is a chance for a get-right game. The girls and the boys going to have to be able to put this in the back burner. The boys already suffering their first loss of the season, so maybe a little bit easier for them to move on. But they get it at home, and it's a nice way to grow, especially for the boys. The girls, you might even want a more balanced home and road schedule, but like 6 of the first 7 or 6 of the first 8 are all at home, which means we're going to finish up on the road. Regionals is going to be a very interesting type thing this year because from what we're hearing, most teams are not staying in the town that regionals at because of cost, because Jackson is hosting in mid-May. Jackson springtime, not exactly empty. So that'll be interesting. And then state, of course, is a return to Gillette. I think both teams should be there for state. And if the girls can improve a little bit, get a little more healthy, knock off the ring rust. Jackson, as much as Jackson looked so good yesterday, Jackson's beatable. I don't know about Kelly Walsh because I haven't seen a Kelly, the number 1 team, play yet, but we get to see them next Thursday at a very beautiful field, but the hardest place for us to live stream soccer, period, because we're 100 yards from power. So we take every outdoor extension cord we got and string it along.
It's the perfect time of the year to host regionals in Jackson, actually, because it's a shoulder season. Ski season's over with, and you will get better rates at hotels and motels in Jackson in early May than you'll get in the summer. So
$340 a night was the cheapest one that we were all able to find that had any kind of group rating. So the good part is there's some places around that they've stayed, like for basketball when they've gone to Afton or Jackson. They've stayed in Alpine before. It's 45-minute trip, and unlike basketball, at least, soccer, there's going to be there's really, except for the final day, and I don't even think there will be there's really no doubleheaders. So, because you do play 80 minutes, so it shouldn't be too awfully difficult to be a little further out. But hopefully the weather will be good. You just never know. I've been at regionals last year where it was sleeting and cold and just, and then the next day it was 70 degrees. So
that's Wyoming in the spring.
Long way off. Again, got Star Valley, then Evanston on Tuesday for Riverton. Both of those games on paper, of course, they've already defeated Evanston fairly easily, both the girls and the boys. Star Valley for the first time on Saturday. And then a big one, the biggest game on the road of the year, probably, or one of. They'll go face number 1 on the girls' side, number 1 Kelly Walsh, and top 5 Kelly Walsh on the boys' side. Number 2, I do believe, tied with Sheridan. So, but this is the first time in a long time where we can say, last year kind of hinted at it, that all four soccer programs in Fremont County pretty darn good. Which is nice to see a sport where both Riverton and Lander are both really good. Unfortunately, they don't play each other. But according to Matt George at Lander and according to Max Mills, we can officially say it. Keeper of the gold in every sport is back next year. Soccer, volleyball. In fact, the first game at the new gym, the bleachers have been ripped out, Cody. Don't know if you knew that.
Oh, yeah.
They've been ripped out. That we can say a little bit more. They're going to kind of if you've been to Kelly Walsh, you kind of know the bleacher setup, what it's going to be like. It's going to be kind of like Kelly Walsh's, which is kind of like ours has been, just with plastic and more safety railings. And the very first game played on the new court in front of the new bleachers with the fans in the new bleachers will be the Riverton Wolverines and Lander Valley Lady Tigers in volleyball.
Well, and that makes sense. There'll be a brand new floor there, new lighting,
new sound.
The big scoreboard on top of the that hangs from the roof is going to be gone. It hasn't been used in a while, and So the old media box up on the east side will be gone. It's going to look better. It's going to be painted, a new floor. I mean, it hasn't had a new floor since 1980, and so the time was there for a facelift of Wolverine Gym. But getting into track this weekend, a lot of teams busy out there. A lot of Fremont County teams. Shoshone, Wind River, competing in Glen Rock this weekend. Let's see, what else do we have here? On Saturday in Powell, Lander, Riverton will be in Powell at the Conkey Powell Invitational. Puncher Invite at Big Piney. Du Bois, Fort Wasky will be there this weekend. So a lot of things going on track and field wise as they move into the heart of their schedule. It has been a wonderful track and field season so far, as winds have kind of subsided a little bit in certain parts of the state, and the temperatures have been good with not much moisture now.
And
track and soccer playing should make it snow a little bit, and we need that snow desperately.
Yes, we do. And it's kind of funny because last week you looked around looking at your guys' Facebook posts and stuff like that on WYDOT. We were snow all around us, but it was like 50 here. We do have some track and field results from last week. On Thursday, April 2nd, the D&D Invitational, which I always think Dungeons and Dragons. No, the D&D Invitation at Worland. On the girls' side, Thermopolis finishes in 7th. Or 8th, excuse me, in 10th was Du Bois Shoshone in 11th. On the boys' side, the Thermopolis Bobcats finish in 3rd. And then Shoshone coming in last. And it looks like we don't have anybody for Du Bois there. Then, of course, we also had the Glenn Legler Early Bird at Natrona. It was upperclassmen were taken for Riverton. Kelly Walsh winds up winning that. Wyoming Indian finishes with 9 points. Wind River and Riverton only scoring 2 on the girls' side. On the boys' side, Wind River and Wyoming Indian kind of at the back burner there, of course, facing much bigger teams. Riverton finishes in 6th at that event. And seeing here if we had any others. We do not. So, of course, right on the heels of that, we just got Basin Anderson. Don't worry, I'm sending in our sponsorship for you for Legion Baseball coming up, and Senior Babe Ruth. They'll be plating up here just in a few weeks, and ought to be a really good season for the Raiders. They return a lot of their bat. In fact, the vast majority of their bats. Of course, the question for any baseball team at any level is always what's your pitching going to be like. They do return a lot of innings. They need some improvement out of those innings. They're leading their ace, if you will, who was a one-year guy who came up from, I do believe, Rawlins. He, of course, he's gone off to school or whatnot or moved on. So he is gone. So it'll be interesting to see. They've got some power in the lineup, but probably the strength of that lineup is its speed. They've got a lot of it, and led off by, sprinting superstar Jamison Spradlin and future Marine as well. When we have the Marines on, they talk about him quite a bit, following his dad's footsteps. So it ought to be a good year for Legion. Senior Babe Ruth and Lander is going to be another interesting year. We'll see how that pans out as well. So a lot of things going on, and oddly enough, it feels like late spring out there. Anybody play some bets on a late, wet snowstorm?
It's always a good bet, I think, in Wyoming.
At this point, I don't know if I want to bet on that, though. So,
well, actually, Legion Baseball gets underway in certain parts of the state this week. Cheyenne and Gillette will be playing games. Gillette goes over to Rapid City. They play over there every year, and then Rapid City comes back and plays. But an interesting thing this year is that Montana added high school baseball a year ago, and it's made scheduling for North Wyoming teams very difficult because those North teams like Powell and Cody, Lovell, Sheridan, Gillette, they were able to hop up into Montana and get a bunch of early games as Montana's Legion season gets underway in April. Well, now high school baseball in Montana is cutting into those schedules. So you're going to see different schedules out there for those North Wyoming teams. This year's Legion setup the decision was made pretty much by last year that they were going to eliminate AA and A ball and go to one division, which has 23 teams. Those teams will be separated into quads, and so Riverton's going to have to play some of the bigger schools in conference play. Now they only play. The way they've done it in AA is going to go over to this level, and so Riverton may host Casper for a doubleheader this year, but then that's it. Next year they'll go to Casper to play a doubleheader. So you're only going to play those big teams from AA at the most 2 games in your regular season. And that's like teams like Rock Springs and Jackson. The whole point of this realignment, and there's been a lot of speculation all over social media this week about it, negative-wise from several people, is that you want the best 8 teams to play for the AA state championship. And then the remaining teams will compete in the postseason at the Class A level, just like they always have. So you're still going to end up with 2 state champions, but it allows those smaller town teams that are having great seasons to compete against the best. We saw it this year in basketball, and you saw it, Kevin. The Cody team should have been playing in 4A, the girls. They ran all over 3A all year due to their position in alignment. It would have been awesome to be able to see the Cody Phillies take on Cheyenne, take on Gillette,
And
take
I think
on
they would have done the
Casper.
same thing there,
They
too.
would have.
They were that good.
But there'll always be an asterisk beside that state championship that says they're 3A state champions.
Okay, I won't.
There will always be that
go
asterisk.
that far, but because they did what it took. It is weird, and it's still something I've had a hard time getting used to. Cody, is the fact that, like Riverton, for example, in most states you are based on what your enrollment is. So you're 1A through 8A in Texas or whatever, or smaller states more. It's really been hard for me to get used to. Like Riverton's 3A in football, but 4A in pretty much everything else. Not
Correct.
but it's kind of weird. You're either 4A or you're not. The only thing I can really say that really affected was, what was it, 4 years ago, when Riverton soccer moved up to 4A. I thought the girls had a really good shot at state 3A. They were not a 4A team yet, so to speak. And it's just weird how that kind of happens. Like that Cody would be 4A. Oh, now you're 3A. And that you can have sports split as far as within one school. You can have a football team that's a 3A or a basketball team that's 3A, and then maybe a wrestling team that's 4A, and then maybe a swim team that's 3A. It's just taking a lot of getting used to.
Well, it doesn't really work that way. It's football basically that drives that, and what they've done is they've created a top league based on enrollment, but baseball has nothing to do with that. Now we have used when I was the state commissioner, we used the state school enrollments to satisfy the top 8 teams. So you'd have a full state tournament. You will have a full state tournament this way. It's not going to change that much because your power teams are still going to be in the AA state tournament.
Yeah.
It gives the Powells, the Codys, the Rivertons, Green River a chance to play for Jackson, Rock Springs, Gillette, Sheridan, those type of teams, and have games that matter, and you're going to get your head handed to you once in a while, but you might break through and win some of those games too. So it's a good thing, and I like it. I'm getting criticized for it on social media because I'm backing the state's decision, but I'm telling you that you want to play the best. Mm-hmm. If you want to solidify your ability to play college baseball, go on and play. Or if you want to take on a Casper, Why not?
Why not?
You know, Don Julian, who was here a long time ago as football coach, when Riverton moved from 3A after winning the state championships in the 90s, moved up to 4A. He's like, bring it on, man. That's the attitude these younger teams should have.
Well, and
Let's do it.
The good part with baseball, it's kind of like hockey in one regard as far as that is. They're the two major team sports where in a one-game setting, one player can make all the world difference. In hockey, obviously, it's the goalkeeper. They'll say he's standing on his head. He's just facing every shot and keeping
Well, or
him in
Wayne
it.
Gretzky or something, you know.
Well, usually it's the goalkeeper they talk about. He's standing on his head. He's faced 3 times as many shots. He stopped it. In baseball, it's pitching. I mean, we've seen it all the way in the College World Series. When Cal State Fullerton won their last one, they had good bats. They were a good program. But they had 3 pitchers who were absolutely untouchable. And so you just need that pitcher to find his groove that one day, and you can pull a major quote unquote upset.
In Wyoming baseball, it's rarely going to be about the pitching. It's going to be about the quality and depth of your lineup. Because when you get down 2, 3 deep, especially in the lower levels of baseball, like Class A has been, you've got to pitch to contact, and then you've got to play great defense. And I mean, Baylor played on a bunch of teams like that where they didn't have a dominating pitcher. They had to pitch to contact, and then they had to figure out how to get 3 outs. And that, you know, that's an important thing in Wyoming baseball.
Well, we also don't want to overlook that the B state tournament is here in Riverton this year.
Yeah, it'll be great to see some younger players, up and coming players from all over the state come into Roy Peck Field.
Is the so the top 8 teams go to the AA state tournament? Is there another state tournament for the next 8? Or is,
actually there will be the A state tournament. Will be for the teams that don't qualify for the AA state tournament.
Okay.
And you know, it'll be a good thing. And I'm guessing most of the A teams that have been competing at A will be competing at A at the state tournament.
The good part is sports is meritocracy. So those who are criticizing you versus you that y'all disagree with, the good part is it's going to be shown on the field. Either probably somewhere in the middle will lie the end result. But you know what? I mean, you want to play the best. You talk to small school college basketball players, they want a chance to go play at Cameron Indoor. They want to play the best.
Yeah. That's the magic of the NCAA basketball tournament.
Exactly. You get to play. You get that, and you know how often do you get a chance to test your mettle? And as coaches, generally in sports, you like that. Wyoming Indian, I know, loves it when they do the preseason tournaments. I know Bo Sheets loves it when they do that. Get a chance to play the top from somewhere else in the state, someone you may not normally see, because it also helps you determine what team you have and what you really need to work on when you play teams that are better than you. At least on paper, they're better.
You can watch how these teams prepare for games. It's a great advantage for coaches because you can look at the athletes, look at how they do things. You know, yeah, you're going to take one on the chin every now and then. Did you ever take one on the chin in baseball, Baylor?
Yeah, several times. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and we'd be remiss. Obviously, Montana, like you said, going high school baseball. I don't know. I just like I like high school baseball. I like being able to wear your school's colors, and you know it kind of bakes in a little bit bigger fan base. But of course, softball growing in the state as well. So we'll see whatever happens with Riverton in the future if they add one. But I mean, you know,
it's all about money.
Yeah, 2 years ago, you wouldn't have thought you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different games in softball. No, not counting doubleheaders. 10 separate schools, so 20 separate schools facing each other.
I think it's a great
softball.
experiment to see if that game can be played in Wyoming Spring, and every game that is successful in softball start setting the foundation possibly for baseball down the road.
And I get it, it's hard. I mean, like when I lived in Vermont, they had minor league baseball, just rookie ball A level with the Vermont Green Monsters, and their season didn't start till like May 15th or May 20th or something like that. So it is harder, but it is a great experiment. And it's nice to be able to offer something, especially on the girls' side, besides soccer and track because that's pretty much their spring
Swimming.
sports. Swimming,
Volleyball, cross country.
well, I'm talking
track.
about spring.
Spring sports.
Spring sports.
all right.
Spring sports. During that time, and then in the winter, of course, it's pretty much basketball.
Wrestling.
and a little bit of wrestling.
Wrestling's huge, man.
You're
underselling
growing.
that sport.
Well, it's growing on the girls' side, and it's growing really fast. But as far as team sports and things of that nature, it's nice to see them get an extra one. I've been privy to some of the
Indoor
discussions
track
here
is big.
about it. Well, that would fall under track.
Yeah, but that's a winter sport that girls are participating in.
But I think having a sport just for girls, because track, obviously there's both, so like just having one of those sports in the spring is pretty special, I think. I actually drove through Wheatland and saw the softball team practicing. They had a lot of girls out. I mean, I was impressed.
They faced Green River today.
Well,
It's gaining a lot of
in
popularity.
Lander, you're getting girls coming from Worland.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming there might be a couple girls from Riverton over there. Haven't heard, but you're able to do that. You can go to that high school and compete on the team. And what?
I don't think Lander has a softball team, do they?
Yeah,
I know they have a travel team.
they're playing JV ball.
Are they playing JV this year?
Yeah, they're going to add. They're adding softball.
Last year they had because I called their ball gown game, and it was their version of Legion or Babe Ruth that was there last year. So it'll be interesting. You did have some kids from Moreland who came down. Had a couple kids from Riverton. All over the county, really, and then outside the county as well. So it'll be interesting. Of course, the powers that be, of course, early on are the big schools like the Cheyennes because they had the kids to do it, and that will be the question.
Well, Gillette's a defending state champion.
Yeah.
I mean,
Do you offer it first, not knowing if you have it? I do know there's been some discussions of, well, if we were to do it, where would they play? What would they do? And there's been several different options discussed, and nothing really even further than that. So it'll be interesting to see if if Riverton's ever going to have it. At least with AD Max Mills, it'll start there or it'll start grassroots.
got good softball facilities down in the east part of town down here. This is the first year for Lander and high school girls softball. And the first year, they're not eligible for their postseason. Their games are all JV, but they are playing high school softball in Lander.
And we'll finish up with this because I find that to be that one statement within his statement, total statement, to be ridiculous. I find it ridiculous with the NCAA basketball tournament. I find it ridiculous with bowl games. If you're good enough, when you jump up, you should. What is this ridiculousness of, you can't go to postseason for 2 years or 1 year or whatever the case may be, depending on the level. But when you got a team that, like last year, we saw it in the NCAA, a team won their conference tournament, but they couldn't go. Mm-hmm. So the team that was runner-up, they really didn't even have to play that game. But it's just, why penalize the kids?
I think specifically to Wyoming High School, I think Thunder Basin broke that rule for everybody because all of the athletes from Campbell County left and went to Thunder Basin, and then they were just excellent for the next several years. And so I think it's a way to dissuade maybe that shift, such a drastic shift of power, because Campbell County High School basically became non-existent in sports for at least 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, but that's one. I don't know.
I'm with you. Especially in college, it doesn't make sense to me.
Well, and who's transferred? I mean, Lander, outside of maybe transferring from Riverton, which hasn't had softball, so it's not like that's going to really be all of a sudden Riverton had all these all-stars that just have never played before. I mean, you're not going to get a ton of transfers. I mean, you're not going to have someone going, hey, school choice-wise, I want to come in from Meeteetse, because that would be one heck of a drive every day.
Yeah.
Mom and dad would get tired of that kind of quick. I just think, let them play. If they're good enough to play in the JV, whatever the tournament is at the end, let them. Mm-hmm. Let them.
Riverton's had some notable transfers that have come in. A few years back, it was a big defensive and offensive tackle who got all state. I'm trying to remember his name right now, but he transferred in. Family moved here from Tinsleep. Wyoming Indian had a senior on the team this year, Julius Robinson, who had to sit out. He couldn't play varsity ball last year, transferred to Wyoming Indian just so he could play his senior year from Lander. That happens a lot in Fremont County. These kids move around. They have to move into that school district to be able to play the next year. But it's impacted programs like Wyoming Indian in the past.
For me, I am pro. That is one of the things you're just going to have to deal with when you have the level of school choice that we have. And I am for school choice, so don't everybody take that politically. But you're going to have that. I mean, we live in Riverton. We looked at Lander and Riverton, and our decision was basically based on which one had marching band as far as bigger and what we thought Katie and Cassie and them. And Lander's band's great. It's just slightly smaller. So, and Riverton was close by, and they had the largest, so that's where we went. Now, if my kid had been a great swimmer, if Connor had been, I'm going to Lander. He's going to Lander Valley.
And with the size of his feet, he should be a great swimmer.
They're trying to get him to swim. Yeah, he's wearing like 13s now or something like that. For those who haven't seen Cameron Connor, he's 6'3" now and absolutely dwarfs everybody in the family.
By the way, there's 17 girls playing Lander softball, this high school softball.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Now Riverton needs to get softball as well, and maybe even throw it because they're listening too. I think that might be a good sport for Hot Springs, for Thermopolis as well.
Hey, good news.
Or Portland. Portland has a really good
news
travel
this
team.
week coming out of Laramie. 4 of the main cogs in the Wyoming Cowboys basketball team have said we're coming back, and 3 starters. So good news there. 2 young freshmen coming in to play for the Cowboys, including Colorado's Player of the Year, Madden Smiley, who just happens to be the godson of Sonny, Wyoming's head coach. And then they signed a California transfer yesterday, so they're out looking for 3 or 4 more guys. And but you're starting to see that this culture that has come to Wyoming men's basketball is starting to pay some dividends by able to keep these better players for more than 1 year.
All right, and to wrap things up here real quick, just a rundown of what we've got on our YouTube channels this weekend. Of course, Riverton playing at 12-2 against Star Valley on Saturday. Today, it will be Powell, number 2 Powell, visiting number 3 Lander on the girls' side. Girls play at 3, boys play at 5. That will be on our YouTube. And looking at Saturday, see if Lander... Ooh, they get one of their big ones, 11 a.m. on Saturday, and the boys will start at 1. Number 1, Cody, visits number 3, Lander. So that's your soccer for the weekend. And, of course, Colorado Rockies tonight, 7:40 p.m. is first pitch, facing off against the San Diego Padres.
Boy, last night was amazing. Went into 12 innings. Rockies were right there, but... Then San Diego got some breaks in the 12th and ended Colorado's 6-game winning streak.
Of course,
yeah, impressive. I can't believe that they were 500 for a second.
I can't believe they won 6 in a row because that means they started out 0-6.
You know what? This
I think it was actually 4 in a row, but
was it or 5? It was
5 in a row. Yeah.
No, this young Rockies team's worth watching. So far, so good. I mean, April, May is a great time to watch Rockies because traditionally they have struggled on into the summer and fall.
Rockies at 6-7. They're facing 7-6 Padres. Diamondbacks also at 7-6, and then go figure, best record in the National League, the Dodgers.
Best money,
Dodgers. Yeah.
Best money that is spent right there.
Yes, indeed. And we won't even get into the does Ohtani deserve extra warm up time? The answer is no. But we'll see you next week. Maybe we'll discuss that next week. We'll go over all the things going up. Spring game in Laramie coming up on the 25th, and baseball getting ready to start.